everyone, Dandelion Princess here, and welcome back to Spotlight, where I shine the spotlight on things I don't normally talk about here on the channel. Today, I'll be shining the spotlight on Helluva Boss. But before I get too into the show, I do want to just say that this show isn't going to be for everyone. In fact, I'm sure some of you guys are pretty surprised to find out that I watch and like this show. If you've seen some of my other videos though, you may have picked up on the fact that I am big into mythology and folklore and things of that nature. The afterlife and the many forms it takes being a big part of that. Needless to say, demons kinda come with the territory. Also, I think demons or characters with demonic powers make for super cool villains. Another thing you may or may not have noticed about me is that I am very character-oriented. If a story has interesting enough characters that I can get attached to, it's pretty easy to keep me engaged. Some good examples of this would be The Last of Us or Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm not really into shooting games, westerns, or zombie games in particular, but in both instances the characters grab me and I get invested. There are definitely other examples I could give to this, but I really like those two just because both games I didn't even intend to play myself, and at first I really had no interest in either. But this story isn't about them, no. This is a story about how a small web series here on YouTube stole my heart in the course of 9 episodes. Helluva Boss has given me something that I've craved for a very long time. Adult animation with actual stakes and plot. This is something I talk about in my video I made about the possibility of Pibby being a TV show and the potential it had to do just this. So it's no secret at this point that I love animation, but it has always been a struggle for adult animation, as the medium is largely seen to be for kids, which is ridiculous. Check out my video, The Gift of Animation, to dive a little bit deeper into that. Anyway, things like South Park and Family Guy will always kind of hold a special place in my heart, as shows I can easily put in the background and just relax to and get a couple laughs. But like a lot of adult animation, they are largely episodic. I want to make it clear I don't mind episodic. I absolutely adored SpongeBob growing up, which back in the day in its early seasons, it literally was, in my opinion, the forerunner to shows like Family Guy. But with any episodic show, it gets very easy not to care about the characters or anything that happens to them because there are no consequences. Now, I'm not saying there wasn't any adult animation that broke the mold and had an overarching story. Futurama is a big one for me. I actually really loved this show back in the day, and it definitely proved that adult animated shows could have one-off wacky adventures while still developing the characters and having an overarching narrative. These characters had backstories and goals that actually drove the plot forward. Rick and Morty is also another big one that does this. Though Rick and Morty do go on one-off adventures, and they do quote-unquote reset things at times by going to alternate universes and starting over, there is a overarching narrative and character development, and I am here for it. Helluva Boss is way better though, and you can fight me on it. Helluva Boss is about an organization called I.M.P, the Immediate Murder Professionals, who make a living, you guessed it, killing people. They have access to this book called the Grimoire that gives them access to the living world, so they use it to help the citizens of Hell by getting revenge on those who are still living. To me, this is a really fun and creative idea, that is executed pretty flawlessly. First of all, each client they take on is different, and the different situations that the characters end up in are very different. On top of that, the characters don't even always take a client in each episode. There are just complete episodes where they don't take on a client and they get into some other shenanigans. But I think what makes this show work more than anything else is, you guessed it, the characters. First, we have our fearless leader, Blitz. I like Blitz a lot actually, and I've only grown to like him more as the series has progressed. Initially, he struck me as a lot like Rick Sanchez. He enjoys killing, is chaotic, and gets the group into trouble that they then have to get out of. Blitz is immediately more fun though. While Blitz is definitely unpredictable, he very much cares for his employees, and he gets them out of trouble pretty much as he gets them into it. There's a lot more to unpack with Blitz, obviously, but I'll save that for another video to dive deeper. Next we have Moxie, who is my favorite character. He is definitely the most level-headed of the group, and believe me when I say I.M.P would not have lasted as long as it has without him. He specializes in ranged weapons such as guns and crossbows, with his knowledge going much further than any of the others. He also seems to take care of their finances and whatever else Blitz throws at him.
Everyone stop fucking up my walls! Moxie's gonna have to fix all this shit!
Don't get it twisted though, Moxie may come off as weak, and even gets made fun of by the other characters in the show. He's still a formidable killer like the others. His morals are just a little stronger than the others, which I actually really like. Then we have Millie, who is actually Moxie's wife. And let me just tell you that they are the cutest couple to ever come out of hell. Though their personalities are fairly different, when they work together, they are pretty much unstoppable. And they are super good at understanding each other. They pretty much have no insecurities when it comes to each other. They know where they stand with each other and are just content to be together. Millie enjoys killing a lot more than Moxie does. Honestly, I'd tend to say even more than Blitz does. Even though she's smaller, she is all about close combat, tending to use things like knives or axes. She is a bit of a glass cannon though, and though she can definitely dish them out, she can't always take a hit, showing the need for her to be in a group like this. She has the others to watch her back while she goes psycho. Then, last but not least, there's Luna. Luna is a hellhound who was adopted by Blitz, and she normally serves as the group's receptionist. But there are definitely times where she does go on the field with the others. She has a very guarded attitude and acts like she doesn't care about anything, but when she does let that guard down, she turns out to be pretty goofy and it's adorable. These four work really well together. I think the show does a really good job of showcasing how I.M.P really only works with all of them together. These characters actually do legitimately care about each other despite their differences. Sure, they may make fun of each other or fight, but at the end of the day, they are all there by their own choice. They have no real obligation to stay together, and they have no ulterior motives. And though they may try to deny it, they really are just a big family. Outside of I.M.P, there are a lot of other awesome characters in this show, such as Stolas. He is another character who kind of grew on me as the episodes went on, but I'll go in more detail about him later, as I really don't want to spoil the details of his character. It's really fun to see it unfold for yourself. Honestly though, I will say that in this show, I have yet to find a character that I generally dislike or hate. Even the villains are really cool and fun. You have Stryker, who is an absolute badass, voiced by Norman Reedus. Stella, who is just evil, but I'll admit it's hilarious to watch her just yell. And she's definitely the kind of villain that you love to hate.
You want to fuck this one too?
No, of course not.
And the list just goes on. Honestly, I don't always mention voice acting in these videos, but Helluva Boss has some phenomenal voice acting, and they actually have some pretty big names. A part of the project, like Norman Reedus. Richard Horvitz plays Moxie. He is actually a big voice actor from my childhood, playing Billy from The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, and Zim from Invader Zim. What's cool though is the show does make room for smaller voice actors who are up and coming. I think all the characters were casted perfectly. Their voices are super fitting. And everyone brings their A game. I do especially have to hand it to Blitz's voice actor. His voice can shift just as quickly as Blitz's attitude can, which is on a drop of a dime. He especially pulls off emotional moments really well, which initially I wouldn't think would have been the case. Brandon Rogers really knocks it out of the park, and is somehow able to make a character like Blitz sound downright fragile when he needs to. There's actually songs in this series which are really dang good. Like, actually criminally good. That's also why I like this series more than other adult animated shows. Growing up with Disney and other musicals, I am very partial to some good tunes, which adult animation sorely lacks. I get that not everyone enjoys musicals, and I definitely get the idea that adult animation and musicals don't exactly seem like things that would go together. But in Helluva Boss, it works so seamlessly. Even if you're not a fan of musicals, I would still suggest checking this show out. They are very catchy. Some of them are also pretty funny. The animation is gorgeous for this show. Honestly, at certain points, it is to the point of being scary when you consider the fact this is just a small web series put together by a small group. There's even times when the animation style will shift in certain moments, which is super cool and fitting for when it happens. The animation really sticks out. All in all, I think this show is brilliant and a breath of fresh air for me. This is something that I truly needed in my life. I will leave a link in the description to the pilot episode for anyone who hasn't seen the show and wants to check it out. Just keep in mind that because it is a small group creating this show, production time takes a bit longer than other series. But to me, this show is 100% worth the wait. Okay, so this section is probably going to be a lot shorter than it usually is for these videos, just because honestly I plan on doing a lot of other Helluva Boss content. So some of the things that I wanted to talk about in this video, I decided to save for other videos. One thing I will say though is that I'm super glad that now is the time that I've gotten into this series. I feel like the plot has just really kicked off these last few episodes like big time. Honestly, ever since Blitz and Moxie got captured in True Seekers, I have been just a little bit on edge. And then of course there is Stryker, who is very much still being hired to kill Stolas. What I'm getting at is I am very excited for future episodes. And though I definitely enjoy all the episodes, I don't think I would be quite as invested in this series, say when they only had like a couple episodes out. The first couple episodes do a really good job of setting up the characters and their dynamics, but the series really only gets better as it goes. I do want to kind of touch on Stolas a little bit. So, like I kind of mentioned earlier, Stolas kind of grew on me as the series went on. He wasn't one of my favorites right out of the gate. I have to admit I was kinda on Blitz's side, thinking that Stolas was just coming on way too strong. Don't get me wrong, I definitely found it funny, but in the beginning I thought Stolas was kinda just gonna be a one-note character, and I definitely didn't think he was gonna be all that important. And honestly, if nothing else, I thought he was gonna be more of like a minor antagonist. I figured his biggest role was going to be just getting in I.M.P's way, or even withholding the Grimrock whenever he wanted something more out of Blitz. Of course, this ended up not being the case, and immediately he started to sway me by the second episode. Seeing his relationship with his daughter Octavia really warmed my heart. I've always been a big daddy's girl, so whenever I see a father-daughter dynamic, it pretty much immediately has my attention. And even though their relationship is strained as Octavia gets older, I still really love their moments. I especially like the scene at the end of episode 2 where Octavia finally opens up a little bit to Stolas. So I realize Stolas is kind of a controversial character. And yeah, I get it. His actions are sometimes very morally gray, but honestly, I like that. I love characters that are morally gray just because that is more real to me. In life, nothing is really black and white. Honestly though, I mean, we're talking about a show where the main characters are literally murderers. I think we can pretty much agree that they are all pretty morally gray, at best. On the other hand, though, I really do feel for him. He was forced to marry someone he really doesn't like, and who absolutely doesn't like him. It's really not fair to either Stolas or Stella to force them to be married to each other and just expect that everything is gonna go okay. Stella was never really upset that Stolas cheated on her, but more so of how public it was, and who Stolas is cheating on her with. But I could sit here and defend Stolas all day. Honestly though, I think he speaks for himself pretty perfectly, where he finally stands up to Stella.
I know what I did. I would feel bad if I hurt you, but we both know I didn't do that. You and I were arranged for one reason, to birth a precautionary heir to the Goetia family. Nothing more. I tried so many years to make it comfortable for us, to have this family, but it was never enough. The only reason I have endured your constant insults and cruelty was for that girl to have a normal life.
Now, as far as things go with the Blitz, his relationship with Stolas is complicated, to say the least. And again, I'm not going to go in too much detail here because I do plan on making other videos that will dive into this topic. But the series is really making me start to root for them, like a lot. Look, I absolutely love Moxie and Millie. They are the best couple in the series, hands down. I could literally watch them all day, but I also love me just a little bit of drama. Honestly, I think the two couples complement each other really well. Moxie and Millie are the stable couple that are just fun and adorable to watch. Moxie and Millie are easy, while Blitz and Stolas, on the other hand, bring the drama and tension. And the series balances it out really well, I think. Blitz and Stolas have both been through a lot, and I generally want to see them both happy. And despite the somewhat toxic nature their relationship is at now, I'm invested in these two because I want to see them grow as both individual characters and together. But whether or not you agree that Blitz and Stolas are in-game, it's really interesting just to see the impact the relationship is having on both of their psyches. Quite simply, they won me over like just about everything else about this show. All in all, I just absolutely fell in love with this show and with these characters. And just because I know that there are probably going to be people who ask, don't worry, I've seen Has Been Hotel as well, but even though we only have the pilot for that right now, I definitely want that to have its own video. And to my boyfriend who got me into this series, thanks, you created a monster. Seriously though, he probably regrets it now. What are your thoughts on Helluva Boss, and who is your favorite character? Let me know down in the comments, and be sure to give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and be sure to subscribe for more Helluva Boss and Has Been Hotel content, as well as other animation content. Thank you guys for watching, and see you guys next time.